Cobra.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. I'm your host, as always, John J. II, and I'm joined with a very special guest today, Caiden Carter, my neighbor. He's been helping us out with a lot of Gen Pro stuff, and he's right at the thick of it right now with the Euro 2020 tournament. As you guys know, been tweeting about it like crazy. They're actually limiting me on Twitter about how many tweets I can post, so it's a little bit of an issue. Been batting heads with the higher-ups at Twitter this week, so it's been a process, but we're having a hell of a time doing it. Caiden, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good, just got back from the gym, watching a lot of soccer today, as you are aware of. Watched a few good games today, but other than that, just vibing,
Yeah, that's what it's all about, just vibing, watching some soccer. And I tell this as a preface every single time. For those of you guys that don't watch soccer, but maybe you watch the World Cup, I would say the Euros are one step below the World Cup, at least for me, having European roots and things like that. I really take pride in watching the Euros. But where do your passions come from as far as watching the Euros?
I grew up playing soccer. I played soccer all through high school, through middle school, all that. So, the Euros were always a good teaching moment for our coach stuff. But we just always liked watching the Euros. And like you said, it's kind of like a dialed back World Cup. I've always liked to think about it as it's basically the World Cup minus all the teams that never make it into the World Cup, really.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
No, it's always good. Great competition. You see a lot of the European teams, what they've been working on throughout the years friendlies, matches, and everything. So it's always been a good match, good competition.
Yeah, it's really good, and I think something else that's also kind of crazy to know is a lot of these players, many of these players that play for these major international teams, they play club football most of the year. So seeing them compete in a different environment with a different squad is kind of an interesting aspect of, just being a soccer player. Like, you got Ronaldo playing for Portugal, you got Lewandowski playing for Poland, you got Harry Kane playing for England. I mean, I could go on. And a lot of these guys there's still a ton of good teams left in here. And we'll kind of get into the bracket right now. And just talking about the bracket, talking about everything that's going on, all the games that have transpired. It's already been a hell of a Euros. And I'm really happy with what I've seen so far. And I'm just excited to keep getting amazed going into these final 8 teams. Now, let me preface you guys with the competition we got going on. And I'll put this on here. So the Euros Gin competition is something that's just a 2-man competition between me and Caiden. Something small, something a little bit, a little icing on the cake for the Euros, make it a little interesting. We have a deal where we have picks going into, we started this a little bit into the first round, so we missed a couple games. That's okay, that's behind us. But basically, you pick the games, you pick everything before each round. So obviously we got the quarterfinals, and now we got the semis after these 4 games, and then there'll be 2 games after that going into the finals. We make our picks before every round, and basically you pick a team to win against whatever team they're playing. You basically pick a team to advance, and if you win that team, if that team wins, then that's a win in your win column. But if you lose that game, that's a shotgun beer, and those will be done in rapid succession come the end of everything. So a little bit something new that we introduced. Caiden's over here mumbling. He's like, oh man, and we'll get to that in a second.
Not a fan of that right now.
Hey, it's okay, it's okay, and forgive me, but I got to put the record up on the screen too. So the current standings: I'm 2-2, Caiden's 0-4, and this is kind of crazy because Caiden grew up playing soccer. He's soccer's been a big part of his life.
I thought I had the right picks, man. Honestly, some of these were shocking to say the least. I tried to go by the statistics, play with a smart pick, but obviously, as we've seen in this round of 16, it's not always what's on paper that's going to win the game for you, especially in some of the matches that we had yesterday. I'm hurting right now. Sure.
Hey, there's a lot of good games that have happened. There's some upsets that have happened too. Primarily, we'll get to that in a second, but basically the new rules that we've made, just to kind of ease up on Caiden a little bit, because he's a rapid succession, four shotguns in a row is a lot, even for a seasoned veteran alcohol drinker like himself. Okay, let's just put that out there. For now, going forward, the games are dwindling, so there's not too many opportunities to win, but every 2 wins you have going forward will take one of your shotgun beers away. So that's to kind of ease the pressure a little bit off of the shotgunny, if I may. So, a little bit of controversy there. You might call it what it is, but I like that rule, and that was presented to us by the committee. So that's something that we're going to go forward with. So let's kind of talk about these games that have transpired. Let's talk about some of the upsets. So the 2 upsets that come to mind that brought us to these 8 teams were obviously the Spain and Croatia game and the France-Switzerland game. So let's talk about the France-Switzerland game. That one went to extra time and eventually went to penalties yesterday. Tell me a little bit about that game.
Honestly, it was a great game through the whole match. You can't really go wrong with that. Although, when Benzema put up 2 goals, within the first few minutes of the match, you honestly thought that the game was in the hands of the French. But as the game went on, you saw Switzerland's fight. With Xhaka leading their team, man. They're crazy with the determination they showed yesterday, and it showed in the end to prevail. It's unfortunate. I was rooting for France. That was one of my picks, but at the end of the day, it just came down to who was the best shot in pens, and Mbappe for France failed to show up. So
Mbappe, he is the face of FIFA 21. Let me just put that out there real quick. He's wearing the French kit on the cover of the game, and he failed to score the pen while everyone else that took their pens, and he was the 10th pen to be taken. Everyone previous to that, both on France and Switzerland, they all made their pens, without batting an eye at it. And me and Caiden were watching the pens. We were kind of like, oh my God, is this going to go to pens? For real? It's a big deal if it goes to pens. And the Ukraine-Sweden game almost went to pens today too. We'll get into that in a second. But it's crazy when it happens, and it's even crazier when it finishes like it did yesterday. So let's just go into a couple of the goals. So Haris Seferovic had a goal in the 15th and the 81st minute. Both great headers. And then Benzema, like you said, two crazy goals right after another, one in the 57th minute and one in the 59th minute. And then another crazy goal by Pogba to bring them up by 2. And that was in the 75th minute. Pogba scored that crazy finesse goal from on top of the bubble.
23 yards out.
Absolutely crazy. And then to have Mario Gavranovic, am I saying that right? Gavranovic. Sounds like he plays for Croatia. But to score a goal in the 90th minute, almost in extra time, the extra given time for regular time, to score that goal and force extra time was absolutely crazy in and of itself, let alone, going the entirety of extra time and forcing it to go to pens. So,
and I feel like another crazy thing we have to bring up is we talked about Mbappe missing that the pen, and his last attempt at a penalty kick was the same exact shot that he took yesterday. So I honestly was thinking, watching that with you yesterday, how much homework Switzerland's keeper put in. I mean, you got to think he missed left going low last time. What's the chances he does it again? And sure enough, he went low left.
Yeah, he went low left. I almost want to blame the commentator a little bit on that, because the commentator said right before Mbappe shot that, he's like, he went low and left last time he kicked this and he missed it. Literally right before he kicked it right after he said that. And what does he do? Jan Sommer absolutely, swats it, goes the right way. He guesses. He's like shifting. Let me show the camera. He was like shifting and going like this before Mbappe even crested the ball, which was quite amazing in and of itself too. But to see Mbappe crumble in that situation, and he didn't crumble, the shot was on target, but Jan Sommer just ousted him. And I'll never forget, this image was burned into my mind, seeing Mbappe just look around almost as if he was stunned. He didn't know what happened. Jan Sommer had a similar reaction. He was looking around. He's like, is that over? Like, is that good? It's like, what's going on here? And then once they got the clearance from the ref, the whole stadium erupted. It was a sight to see.
Electric.
And that's going to be one of the games that goes down in Euros history for years to come,
100%.
decades. So really impressive stuff. Let's talk about these other matchups. So let's go into the matchups going into the final 8 teams, and we'll go into them game by game. We'll start in the upper left. We got Belgium against Italy. That game is this Friday. Who's your pick and why?
I was kind of on the fence going into this game. I really had faith in Belgium, but seeing how their team's going through some injury problems with Hazard and a few other players, correct? Yeah. I had to give my pick to Italy, honestly. They've just been unstoppable in their group stages and round of 16 games. I believe they've only given up 1 goal total in this tournament so far. So I think the solid defense from Italy will prevail against Belgium's struggling team.
Yeah, so as everybody knows, if you know me at all, I'm a big-time Italian guy. Forza Azzurri is what I always say, or Forza Italia, whatever you want to say. Big Italian fan. I love Insigne. I love Immobile. Chiesa scored a crazy goal against Austria in knockout stage. But they cut it really close. They had clean sheets going into that game, and they squandered it by suffering a goal in extra time. After they were already up 2-0, Austria scored probably with 10 minutes left in the second half of extra time, but still cut it close, too close for comfort. But they've been playing well. Belgium's a great team, though. De Bruyne is questionable, as well as Eden Hazard. So those are 2 major league strikers that are a big-time factor in the Belgium offense, which if they're not present, that's a huge question mark in whether or not they're going to be able to handle the strength of Italy. Their defense is great. I'm talking about Italy now. Their defense is great, but with having those strikers, there's able to, having De Bruyne and Hazard out, if they're in, then you're probably good. Then you got Lukaku too. Got to worry about Lukaku too. He's a freak of nature, absolute beast of a human being, and he's quick as hell. So if you can shut him down, then you're going to be good. And it's going to be even easier to do that without Eden Hazard and De Bruyne if they wind up not playing in the game on Friday. But if De Bruyne and Hazard play and they're somewhat okay to play, they could find holes in the Italian defense. So that's what I'm worried about. I'm going to take Italy too, just because I got to take the home team. for the boys back home. So I'm going to take Italy in that game. Let's move on. Let's go across a little bit. Let's talk about Ukraine and England. So England had a heartbreaker today against Caiden's team, Germany, Deutschland.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that one a little bit.
Still feeling some pain from that. Honestly, beginning of the game was, pretty decent going into it. I thought Germany would be on the rise as they showed out against Portugal. I mean, that's the German team I've known. That's the German team that everybody should have known. But today, they just couldn't get it done with England, man. They've had opportunities from Werner, who was stuffed by Pickard. I have to give it to Pickard. It was a hell of a save. And then you had Thomas Mueller in the final few minutes of the match who could have set an equalizer and just missed it left just a little by the post. And just painful. But honestly, I don't know. Starting out, I was a little upset how they started. Wasn't a fan of the 3-4-2-1. Not really a big fan of that. So, I don't know. I'm just disappointed overall.
So does that make you want to pick Ukraine just because England broke your heart today?
No, I will say I do have faith in England going forward. They did look to be the better team in the end. I will admit that, even though it kills me. I mean, Sterling with the pace up front, and then not to mention Kane up front with him as well. You can't beat that duo. And the crossing was just impeccable from them. I mean, ridiculous ball placement today from the Englishmen. I will say, though, their defense might need a little more working on. Pickard did have to make some great saves today, as I mentioned.
He was getting pissed off the defense, too. He was screaming.
Oh, yeah, he was visibly
pissed. Jeez, Pete. Yeah, so Pickard was working his ass off, had a crazy save from, I forgot the striker's name. Who was that shot that goal from on top of the bubble for Germany, remember?
God damn it.
See, he didn't score, so I can't look back at it. It's okay, though. Gusteka, yeah, I think that's who it was. So he shot a crazy shot from on top of the bubble, just a laser beam, and you had to almost guess where it was going to be and just go up with the glove and hope you hit it, because that thing was probably going close to 100 miles an hour, I feel like. It was absolutely a crazy strike, and Germany had so many chances to at least score, if not match the amount of goals that England had. And the goals came late for England, better late than never, as I say, but a heartbreaker for German fans for sure. So let's look at this game. The Ukraine, they narrowly beat Sweden in the 122nd minute today in extra time. Crazy heartbreaker goal for the Swedes, or against the Swedes, rather. So is the Ukraine team going to pose a threat for England, or do you think that they're gonna show up?
Well, this tournament has not shown that it won't. So
anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
Really,
honestly, this is how this tournament's been playing out. Like I said, I've pretty much picked every favorable odds that you could have picked in this tournament, and it has not gone my way, as you can see by the record. So I don't want to say that it's a lock for England, because it's not. I mean, as you saw today, Sweden was favored by a lot, and Ukraine shocked them. So I'll say it's going to be a close one. I'll give it one goal difference. I mean,
okay. So who's your pick?
England in the end. I can't go.
Because if England does win, you pick Ukraine, you're not going to be able to forgive yourself.
No, I won't. And honestly, they beat my team at the end of the day, so it would be nice to see England going far, because then you can say that your team lost the champions. Okay. If they end up getting that far.
Okay. All right. I got you. So I took England against Germany today. I got to take them going against Ukraine. I think that Ukraine's going to give them a crazy fight. If there is an upset, it's going to either be this game or it's going to be the Czech against the Denmark team. So a little bit tough. And you're looking at this. You're looking at this bracket right here. It's like there's no way there can be any upsets. Soccer's a really long match. You're talking about world-class athletes against players you've never heard of. And it's just like, it's still crazy because it's like March Madness. Anything can happen. You see the bracket, it gives you flashbacks of bracketology. So I'm going to take England too, just because I took them today. But I'm going to ride them into the sunset. Let's move into a more questionable contest. Let's talk about Spain and Switzerland happening in the lower left quadrant of the bracket. What are we looking for in this game?
Well, Spain, I'm sorry, I'm just going to throw it out there. Never been a Spain fan. I honestly had Croatia with the upset against them, which almost happened. But Spain was able to fight back on that. So my lock for this game is going to be Switzerland. However, I do believe it will be a close game, even though Switzerland did just dethrone the world champs. In the end of the day, I think Switzerland will have the advantage coming off the victory of France.
Okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb. I love the Swiss. I was going to take the Swiss going into this game, but the dominance, scoring 5 goals in 2 games in a row and beating Croatia, they were runner-ups to the world champs in the World Cup. So let's talk about that for a second. Don't want to dive too much into the weeds, but scoring 5 goals in 2 consecutive matches against significant teams. I guess who they played, I think they played Slovakia or the Czech the game before the first knockout game, but doesn't matter. Nevertheless, I love Azpilicueta, and when he played for Arsenal, I really loved him as a player. Now, who's he play for? Inter Milan, I think, or something like that. But I love him as a player. It doesn't matter what club he plays for. I love him. Then you got Ferran Torres, and then Alvaro Morata, obviously a huge, crazy striker too. And you got people. You're looking at these goals, and I see 5 different names here against Croatia. And there might be people subbing in. There might be people doing different things, but these guys are multifaceted, and they're able to come out of their positions and score and really succeed and do what the team needs them to do in significant moments. So their defense, however, I'm very worried about. That's one thing. There's a lot of holes in their defense, allows the opposition to score goals and find weaknesses in their defense to be able to find cracks and infiltrate. So that's going to be a worry of mine. And obviously you got Xhaka in Switzerland running at the captain position for the Swiss. So it's going to be a really tough contest. I'm really excited for this game. This is going to be a great game, similar to a lot of the games we've seen already. I'm going to take Spain, though. A little bit of controversy. And I hate to root against the Swiss. I really do. I love the Swiss team. I really do. But I want to ride Spain as far as I can. And I know that they have it in them, even if their players aren't as great or aren't as superstar status-y as they used to be. And superstar status-y might not be a word, but it rolls off the tongue really well. So take it or leave it. So a little bit. So that's the first conflict we've had then. So you've taken the Swiss. Yes. I'll take Spain. Put that in a tweet and post it later tonight. I'll probably throw that on Facebook too. Keep you guys updated. And then obviously at the end of everything, we're going to be having a video that comes out having it's going to be the shotgun ceremony is what it's going to be. And no matter what happens, it's going to happen. And we can just look forward to that. And let's just take pride in the rest of these games. Then we'll deal with that later on. The final game of the 8 teams remaining in the Euros for 2021. The Czechs against Denmark. So when I say Czech, I think of Schick that has the crazy goal where it had to be at least a 50, 60-yard goal where he caught the goalie out of the box. And, everybody's seen it. You've seen it in highlight tapes. Insane goal. And he's been the star striker for the Czechs as of late. And he's proved his firepower. He's proved that he's capable of doing crazy things in clutch moments. And then obviously you got Denmark without Christian Eriksen, and we all know about the tragedy that happened. Talked about it in yesterday's stream, and I talked about it last week with Chuck. So who we got in this game, and what are we looking for?
Well, I would say this is the only matchup I would say I'm not too well knowledgeable about. Unfortunately, I've worked every game that the Czech or the Dens have played. So I'm not too certain on this one, but I do believe after looking at all the highlights after the games and things like that, yeah, the Netherlands upset was pretty crazy.
Yeah, so I was just showing Caiden how the Czechs beat the Netherlands 2-0. And, De Ligt had the red card. Okay, it is what it is. But they still scored 2 goals on the Netherlands, and they kept a clean sheet. So that's something to be said in and of itself there. Going forward against Denmark without Christian Eriksen, who they have to count on, this could be a great game too.
Yeah, and honestly, thinking it over, I mean, looking at and after you showing me that, I'm gonna have to go with the Czechs. I mean, I just think they're the sleeper team of the tournament. I know we talked about Ukraine possibly being the sleeper team now, But, I mean, Czechoslovakia has been pretty solid throughout the whole tournament, even in the group stages. I mean, I know Christian Eriksen is not playing for Denmark. It doesn't really affect my decision. I feel more confident in Czechoslovakia.
Okay. So we got some more controversy coming your way. I love Denmark. And he's been able – Christian Eriksen is watching his team. He's watching his teammates really excel and really succeed in his absence, which is something that's pretty amazing. And being a striker of his magnitude, to leave a team behind, not willingly, not like he wanted to, fall on the field and have cardiac arrest. He didn't want to do that. But the fact that happened and seeing Denmark go as far as they have, this is already very impressive. So I'm riding hard on Mela, Damsgaard, Braithwaite, and who's the last guy? Dolberg. He had 2 goals in the game against Wales, kept a clean sheet against Gareth Bale in Wales. So Aaron Ramsey too, which scoring 4 goals against Wales, that's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Yeah, you can say they're getting old and everything like that. They only have, Ramsey and Bale, but it is what it is. A win's a win, and a dominant win is better than a close win, in my opinion. But a win's a win, no matter what. So I'm going to ride Denmark into the sunset. I like to see them do well. I want to see them succeed. And if Italy loses to Belgium, I'm going to be rooting for Denmark to go all the way. And I know a lot of people, there's English people that have been talking to me, English fans that I have that have English descent, that they want to see England bring it back home. And yeah, that would be cool, but I'm not English, so I really don't give a shit about that. Sorry to all those people out there, and you know who you are. But I want to see Denmark ride it into the sunset and take it back for Christian Eriksen. I want to see Christian Eriksen hoist that trophy up above his head. That'd be
that would be cool.
That'd be all over magazines
cool.
And everything. So, I mean, obviously, if Italy doesn't win against Belgium, Italy's my team that I want to ride for sure into the sunset, and Denmark is my second. What about you? Who you got winning it all?
Like I said, honestly, I was diehard set on Germany. So I would honestly like to see the English win it all. The chance of that happening, who knows? Like I said, this tournament's up for grabs for anyone. But yeah, I'm going to have to say England, bring it back.
If Italy beats Belgium, it really is up for grabs at that point.
It really
because you're looking at Belgium, the current world number 1, to kind of, have the opportunity to take it in the round of, the final 8. It's there for the taking. Obviously, Italy is no easy task, but after that, Italy showed weakness against Austria. That shows that they could, if they show weakness against Austria, that means, I feel like the Swiss or even Spain could give them hell in the next round, even if they beat Belgium.
Right. Some of these teams that you expect to just roll over, every team has their days, and if you show up to the pitch, it's not one of your days, and these other teams do, well, there goes your chance of winning that UEFA.
Yep, the UEFA Euro 2020. So as everyone knows, too, the Copa America is also going on. Haven't been following that one too much. I've been too much engrossed in the Euros because the Euros are a big deal for me.
Honestly, coverage of the Copa is kind of bad. This is primetime coverage, and Copa, I think, you get secondary streaming services.
Yeah, you need BN Sports or some garbage like that. Yeah. But something we have to focus on, too, that we can't leave out of the question is that we have the Olympics right around the corner.
Yes.
Which that's technically – that's almost like a World Cup right there. It's like a mini World Cup.
A little bit.
So, okay, let me ask you this, Caiden. You might know this, you might not. Are the squads for the Olympics the same as the international squads for, for major tournaments?
They usually shift around. You got to think there's a lot of different, national teams, different age group wise, stuff like that. So, yes, there is a national men's team for all these countries. So you might see the same players out there. However, are they the same? No.
Yeah. So, that's interesting too. And to think about that, I know for basketball, for national teams, and when you throw the Olympics into there, you have, national teams you play for every sport. You're talking about hockey, you're talking about, individuals are different for golf and things like that. But then you got basketball, then you got, other team sports that are thrown in there, but having it be a part of the Olympics, it throws a different dynamic into it. So that'll be interesting to see too. I'm excited for the Olympics. Those are right around the corner. Following the Euros, these guys will have a couple weeks to rest, and they'll be right back into the thick of it no matter what happens over the course of the next few weeks. Another thing that we got going on is Game 4, Milwaukee and Atlanta. We just got word that Trae Young is out for Game 4, which that's a big blow for Atlanta. What are we looking for this game? Right? Who do we see winning this series? It's looking good for Milwaukee right now.
Me being from the Midwest, I gotta support the Bucks. But it has been a fun series to watch. Trae Young being the villain, playing that role very well in the whole series. I don't know. I think it's gonna be a good game tonight, regardless if Trae Young's in or out. However, I have seen some, questionable play from Atlanta with the whole not getting the ball in the paint too much. So
yeah, they're getting shut down. I mean, obviously Giannis and Chris Middleton, they've been giving these guys hell. Sam actually said something earlier about how Chris Middleton will be able to spread the floor. They might be trying to lock him down too much, which might leave the paint open for Giannis and the big guys to excel and succeed and really get those in the paint points. So that's a double threat, if you ask me. And Atlanta's just going to have to bring their A game if they want to even have a chance in this tournament and have a chance going into the finals. Milwaukee leads 2-1. It could be a really tough uphill climb for Atlanta if they lose tonight at home. So we'll be looking for that too. Game 6 in the Suns-Clippers.
Yes.
So
we watched that last night.
Yeah, the Suns took it on the chin last night. There's 2 possible games left. Obviously, the Suns wanted to win at home. We all know the Suns wanted to win at home. Booker didn't make the shots he had to. Ayton, he did okay, but he didn't really improve his dominance. Jay Crowder got in his own head, took up all his real estate in his own head, and started poking people in the eye, i.e. Paul George. Yeah. And but Paul George, he wasn't fazed by it. He still went off, and there's talks about it today. And there's a guy, Dominique. He talks on First Take. I don't know his last name, but Kendrick Perkins and him were going at it today. They were like at each other's throats. Perkins said that he's a superstar and he's proven himself, and he's really in a league of his own in the NBA. And Dominique was saying, he's like, you know what, he's good. He's good. I'm not taking away from that. He's good. But he's not a superstar. You can't compare him to the Kawhis, the Steph Currys, the LeBrons, people like that. And he's putting people in different tiers. How do you feel about Paul George? Do you think he's a superstar player, or do you think he's just a good player?
I don't know, because superstar players. Remember, you think of superstar players, you think of somebody who makes shots, who's always out there balling up every night. Watching Paul George in the series hasn't really, impressed or sparked my interest in comparing him to any star players I would think of in modern times. So I would say no, I do not believe that he's a superstar player. Yeah,
I think he's more or less a fair weather player. And to see him go off in clutch moments, in clutch games, to continue the series, I think that's impressive for Clippers fans. And I was a big Clippers fan going into this series. But I got to give it to the Suns. Like I said on the stream last night, I think the Suns have unfinished business. I think that they have unfinished business from the bubble that they need to complete and really carry out their goals and carry out what they needed to. And what they wanted to set out to do last year, but they just got cut short. And I think they got to win a title to really prove themselves. And Devin Booker has really put the team on his back, even amongst different injuries and going at it, batting heads with Pat Bev and things like that. So it's been an interesting series, to say the least. But I'm really looking for the Suns to pull it out. And even though they can't do it at home, I'm hoping they can do it at the Clippers. I think that'll burn Clippers fans even more. So I'm really excited about that. Good stuff. All right, Caiden, you got anything left for the people before we sign off today?
Nothing much. Thanks for having me on today. I look forward to these upcoming games. And also the NHL. Go Bolts.
Oh, yeah. Montreal and Tampa Bay. So we might have to do a little friendly bet because I'm Canadian, as you might know that. So I'm pulling for Montreal.
Okay.
So Montreal. Lightning won it last year. They don't need to win it twice in the year. Twice in 2 years.
Me being an American, trust me, my team are the Wings all the way. So, to root for the Bolts is like, it's a little tough. But an American team versus Canadian team, I got to go American team all the way. And if you didn't see, Trudeau and our president made a wager as well. So
I don't want to compare us to Trudeau and Biden.
Yeah, I don't either. Trust me, there's no comparison there other than maybe who supports Canada, who supports the U.S. That's about it.
Yeah, they both have their work cut out for them. But we'll figure that out. We'll let you guys know what that is. It'll kind of spice things up amidst the Euros and everything, all the friendly wagers and things like that. So we'll figure that out and let you guys know. We're really excited for the Stanley Cup, too. A lot of stuff going on, a lot of sports going on. You got the Euros, you got NBA Finals, you got the Stanley Cup, you got Wimbledon going on right now. You got, golf tournaments happening, too. It's a lot going on. It's a lot to cover, so it's keeping us on our toes. So we're really happy about it, but it's a lot to keep up with. But listen, couldn't be happier, and I'll leave it at that. Good stuff, guys. Well, thank you, Caiden, for joining us tonight on the Gin Pros live stream. I'm sure you'll be back to talk sports and other things. So we'll see you guys, and we'll leave it till next time. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great